All right, this is a bench. Very useful. You can sit on it, put your foot up on it, tie your shoe. It's decorative. What I'm concerned about is basically two projects. One is the base, and then the top is basically you can get a little artistic. Okay, this is a design I got. You know that my wife says, "Oh, that's sunshine." All right, so we name it sunshine. Well, for now, I'll put that on the side. This, put this on top so it'll be easier, maybe for C. All right, to begin with, I got a basic design. I got a list here of 25 that I've made already. And that stopped in 2019. All my relatives got one or two or three. My wife has 6. So I'm pretty proficient at it. Now, to start with, I'm looking at the base. I'm looking at 9 pieces, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces. I come up with a basic size 3 by 3. For these, 3 by 3, 12 inches. So that's 4 of those. So that's, you go to the lumber yard and say, hey, I want some 3 by 3, 4 foot long, cut it, then you got it. These here, the rail, or what do you call it, styles, or whatever you call them, legs a good order, good name. Those are 15. Where I come up with that is, I'm going 1.5 inches in, plus 12, so that gives me 15. And these are the ones 15. That's my basic size. Now, what I'm looking at is the total length, or total height. Usually it's about 20 inch. This comes out to 18, this assembly. With the top on, usually 1.5 to 2 inches. There's your 20 inches. What you're sitting on is probably 19.5 to 21 inch. So that's right there. Now, how do I assemble this? What do I do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I want to get some lumber, 3 by 3 by 12. All right? Oh, that looks good. Now, what I'll do is I got a combination, so I'll go back and forth, up and down. I get this thing to 12 inches from here to here. Zoop, got it down, right? Turn it around. There's my 12 inches. Keep this here. Now, say I got a piece. Say I got what I said, 4 feet. Put the 4 feet out. Cut one end off. Flip it over. Bring it in. Out of a 4 feet piece, you can get 4 of these. 4 12 inches. Put the sides off. 15 degrees. That's what I use. So then you got this raw piece. Now these here is the one I'm working on for somebody, so a little bit shorter, but that's not going to matter because all I'm concerned about is this size here. And if you see, because I use the stop here, practically even. And I got 4 of them, so I'm set to go with the raw material. Now, the next thing to do is figure out where my mortise is going to go. Well, you could take this and line it up. You could do 3 inches from here and 3 inches here, figure out, and you have to line up every one of them. All right? Then you do your cutout for your mortise. What I did, I made myself a jig. Now it's a simple jig. This is the third one because the first 2 is like I really beat up. This would fit on the top. All right, I have a joiner and a planer, so that's a little bit advanced for maybe people that started out. This fits on here, and I could get what I need to do as far as my layout. Now, to begin with, I've learned, well, first what I wanted to do, show you how to make the jig. First of all, I want a 2x2 on the tenon. So here's a piece 2x2 square. That fits in here. But how do I get this piece to fit in here? Well, first, imagine this one is that 3/4 material. Not that long. Okay, I'll take 3-inch piece for the middle, and then I'll cut maybe 4 inches, 5, and over here just for the end piece. So basically it lines up like this. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll take some scrap wood. It's actually, maybe about 24 inches long. And I'll put a groove on this. You could do it on a router table or a saw. And it's a 1/2 inch in. Why did I say a 1/2 inch? Because when you put this together, there's the end piece. It's a 1/2 inch plus 2 plus a 1/2 inch on the other side. There's my 3 inches. That's the 3 inches right in here where I fit over this piece over here so I could center it. All right? Now the hole in the middle is important because I got a line against it. I'll show you how I set it up. But that's it. This was a dummy one I made. Somebody could have it after this. But you say, okay, how do I get it square? Well, I got 2 scrap pieces here. I put in between, actually this way. Now, this piece is the same as this piece. Put in between, there's your square. And what I do is I'll glue this up first, clamp it, a little bit later, drill some pilot holes, put the screws in. Like this one here, you can see got 4 screws on each side. So that makes it solid. I put a little hole in there so I can hang it on the wall. All right, so this one I'll put aside. Somebody could have it. Now, what do? Here's my piece, my raw piece. Okay, there's nothing on top. All right, or make believe these holes aren't there. I'll take 4 of them, I'll line them up like this. But I'll have them set down. What I do is on the top one, and I get the other one, I will do cross. You know how you center a piece? From corner to corner, corner to corner. That's my center. And what I'll do, put this one on top of this one. This will be 4 high. There's my center line. Okay? That centers all 4 of these pieces all at once. So now what I do? Well, I've also got a mortiser. Well, what I used to do was take my guide, put it on here, draw my line around, my square. Oh, I got my 2 squares. That's great. So I take it out, and I do, with the mortiser, I go all around. I said, but that's a lot of material to get out. I have to go, it's 5/8 inch. So I got 4 cuts I used to go. 4 cuts this way and 4 cuts this way. That's a lot of work. So, knowing me, I'm kind of lazy. So I says, hey, what can I do to make it a little faster and a little bit easier and a little more accurate? So what I do is I'll take this piece, I got my hole in the middle, and it's centered. You got a line on this where I just drew. I line this up by eye, okay? It's almost right there. Now, you say, well, that might be a little off. Well, stop and think. This is a solid piece in the middle. It's not going to move. If I'm an 1/8 inch off either way, it's not going to matter because the distance between my two legs is always going to be constant. Okay? So that's what I do now. Okay, I got this. Before I used to line it up and all this. Okay, so now what I do is I clamp it to my bench. Then I've got a 2-inch Forstner bit. Now what I do is on this here, you can see on the bit there's a cutoff, but if you put the bit in there, you're going to hit all 4 sides. So it's going to be pretty tight in there. So you're going to get a pretty accurate cut, or I don't know what you call it with a Forstner, a drill or whatever. So what I will do is I will take this bit, clamp this down, put this bit, whack it with a hammer. Whack it with a hammer here, okay? Then what I used to do, which I don't do now, is I used to take, for a mortiser. Oh, I hit this with a hammer too. Oh, then I got my, like this one here, I'll pass it around. I got the hole in this one. But I'll show you when I used a mortiser to get what I wanted to get. But now what I do, I got this clamp down, I hit it with the mortiser, and I just take a chisel. Bam, 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 all the way around. Do that 4 times, and then it sort of looks like this. The chisel mark here, and then later the hole. But what happens is like, hey, with the mortiser, with this bit, when I go down here, I could get it even. When you do it with a chisel, like they do in the olden times, this is a mortise chisel. The angle is a little bit greater on this. So you go down on here. Regular chisel, a little bit sharper like a knife. Well, I just boom. Like I got it all cut out. Or instead of using a pencil or a pen, bam, bam, I got my square right there. So now what I do is I've got a drill press. I'll pass this picture down. But it's got, I'll pass around, you can see it. But there's the table moves up and down. Now I want 1.5 inches inside this. So normally what you do is you take a measuring tool, which I always seem to lose. All right, I'll go 1.5 inch down. I'll make a line. Put this bit inside my tabletop. Wrong bit. I told you next time it'll be perfect. Take this bit, and I got a 2-inch stroke on my tabletop drill. Put that in. Adjust the table so it's bottoms out, table's up here. All right, then over the years, I've been doing it every time. So what I do now is on the base, you can see here on the picture, I've got a 264 drill. I just shove in there, jam the base down, put my bit in. First one, I got 1.5 inches. That takes out 90% of what you want to dig out of here. That'll give you an idea of what I do to my drill. So, what happens? I go in there 8 times, drill in and out, and you say, wow, 90% out, what about this little bit here? Well, that's before, it's maybe till this day, I'll still use a mortiser to get the corner, but it's tight. But the second thing, if you want to use a chisel the old-fashioned way, what I recommend is you got your, hit it down at first so you get your groove. Then when you put the bit in, cuts down and looks like this. I would hit it here on the sides because it's softer. It's with the grain. Okay? Then hit it here, and because you already hit on the side, on the ends here, it's a little bit easier to get down. So if you do it by hand, that's the way to do it. If you do it like sometimes I'll do the corners with a mortiser, bam, I get the corner down real easy. But then I still got a problem when I do the Forstner bit, because it's circular, you might get little stubs over here. Sharp chisel will take that out. All right, and then I've got my guide, so I got to see where I'm at. Part of one I made will fit in here. All right, now the proof is I'll take my jig, put in here, and I'm good. Good. Okay, now that completes this part. Now the good thing about it is, because I'm using this, I've got a flat surface down here on all four of these parts. How does that help? That helps when I put in the tenon. You know that this is practically 1.5 all the time. So that's how I do that. Clean it out with a, you always got some clean out with the chisel. But since the bottom of the Forstner bit is here, use a chisel where you clean out the edges or the side, you know where the bottom is. All right? If you do have a mortiser, you could go down a little bit on the edges, and you still got the base in the middle. So you know your parts are real accurate. So that's on this part. And then to finish it, I have got a special tool, wood putty and wax. I go to the edge and make my, what is it? Circle, all right? Cut it off 45 degrees, and then on the other side, get it over a little bit, and then what do? This one kind of tight. But anyway, the finished one looks like this. All right, got 1/4 inch cove bit all the way around. I usually put it on one side, go around, actually this way so we don't rip it up. This way, and even on the edge. I'll go with the cove bit, do some sanding, and I got 4 of these. So that's 4 out of 9 parts made. All right, now, got that done. Now I want to make these legs. So the legs, I used to put them, I got a tenon jig, and I used to have it where, just 2.5 square. You just put it on a tenon jig, cut it, make sure it fits, all that stuff. All right, get it to fit. But I'd always get, a little bit cut on the side. It was kind of annoying, because even if you have a little bit off, when you stand it up in here and the shoulder hits the bottom here, it would throw it off a little bit. So what I come up with, and this is what I do, I got a combination saw that I center, okay? And on the side, I mean, I'm a little clumsy now. Next time I won't be. On the side, you got this little doohickey. Which is a depth control. All right, now it goes all the way down. All right? This used to always come down there. I've got it this high because this little piece here twisted, and I only wanted to come this high. Well, why is that? Because what I do is I put a little groove in this. And to see it, now that I got the jig down, this comes down a little more than 1/4 inch. And I'll go back and forth and cut that. Now the thing about it is, though, with a regular cutoff saw, it'll come down. With this, I only want to take this amount off, and it's high. So what I have to do is take a piece of scrap wood, usually about 1.5 inches, put it here. You could have it low because your cut's going to be high. So the cut comes across, and you got your first cut on the outside. Now these here are my practice cuts, because to get your saw zeroed in, or my saw here, it's kind of hard. And this one I still have a little bit of a lip, because when you cut the first time, rotate it, cut the second time, rotate it, by the fourth time, it's going to be off an angle. But in order to fix that, I have got to stop over here to set it to 1.5, put it in, and if I calculate right, the first cut I can make, take the stop away, I could rotate it 4 times, and the last cut will marry right here. And I would say 60 to 70% of the time, for me, it happens. The other, 40% or so, I get a little bit of lip. It's like a paper cut now, or a piece of paper like over here. Before, it used to be like a baseball card, and it's very visible. So when you assemble it over here, you could see it. So that's what I'll do with these to get them even. Now, showtime. I've got one here that I was working on. Do this one. Okay, this one I did real good. How could I tell? How could I tell 12 inches from here to here? I could slip in these old rulers on this side, another ruler on this side, and it's even. That's what I come up with. But another thing is, I mark my pieces. Now you can see this one's a little bit short. On this side, I could fix that. I could put a 2-inch, glue that on when I'm assembling. That was a little mistake on my part, but what I'm concerned about is the 12 inches. And it's all even. So that part, that's what you get. That's what you're looking for. Everything even and accurate. There's other places where might stumble a bit, but on this part here, I want that as perfect as I could get. Because I tell you, in past years, the ones I've made before, when I put it together, it was like this. I didn't know how to fix it. I took some off here, took some. It was a pain in the butt. Now, I get these rock solid. That's the base to everything. Okay? That magic is gone. Now, to assemble it. Well, if you can see by my sample here, the reason I picked 3 inches. Well, this, or even the one I had, this one here, 2.5, about 1/4 in, because it's on each side, because it's 2 inches. All right, so what happens is when I put this one in here, and I put another one in here, going into the base, the distance between here is approximately 2.5. Why is that important? Because the center of this piece evens everything out. You're coming up with 2.5 here. So this piece here could actually be 2.5 square. Or in this instance, a little bit longer, but it's 2.5 to slip into here real easy. That's why I do all this. To finish these off, like I said, what I'll do is I just take this guy. I just take a 1/4 inch round over bit, zip, 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 and I'll sand it. They got these little rubber things that Rockler sells. If you want to sand that way too. And then it's a finished piece. So what happens, I've got, when I end up with, I got 40s, 40s, and 40s. And I assemble them, so I got actually 2 end pieces. Then I say, well, how do we put this one on? Well, in past years, I get a piece, well, to begin with, how long is this? My top piece, I usually make 30 inches to 32, 36 sometimes. So, forget the length on this, but whatever it is, I subtract 7. Why 7? Well, this piece here, there's a little bit of a reveal here. I don't have it flat, a little bit of a reveal. So what happens, that's a 1/4 inch. Here's a 1/4 inch, that's a 1/2 inch. I like to have a 3.5 or a 3-inch hangover because I tested it, and it's the best thing so the thing won't tip. All right, that's a safety thing. So that's 7 inches, 3.5 by 3.5. So if this thing is 30, subtract 7, this one would be 23. But that's how I get the length of this. Now, how do I put it together? Well, over the years, I would just clamp it together. But then, like I said before, I get a lot of this. So what I do now, I'll put a clamp here loose, just so it's tight. On this side, do by feel, just a little bit of a reveal. I'll take a clamp, and I'll clamp it like this, here and here. That's to make sure it's straight this way. Then what I'll do, a carpenter square that goes up, I think a couple times I used a 16-inch square, but I'm looking for the first one side to be square. All right. Now, as you can see, this one is just a little off, but that's what's in my tolerance. This side here, okay. It's very hard sometimes to get this thing perfectly square, but I've come up with a tolerance, 1/8 of an inch, not an 1/8, a 16th sometimes, and you can see it's less than that. So that's what I live by. I've yet to get one that's perfect, but this is more perfect than I got before. So what happens, I got my reveal, I finger it, oh, that's about a 1/4 inch, right up where the curve comes in, clamp it here and there, clamp here real tight. So I know I got this all pretty good. Check the height, check the distance, square. Then what do I do? Well, I usually drill a pilot hole down here with a spade bit, put a screw in, tightens it up. Before that, I may put a drop of glue on there, tighten it. But on the side, all right, it's the wrong side. On the side, you can see I've got a dowel. Right here, about halfway. What I do, I got this Rockler doodad. It's actually 2.5. Put it on here, come up, get my center line. Then I'll take a piece of scrap wood, approximately like this, as a measuring tool. And I got my center line. I'll do it on all 4, or maybe 2, whatever I feel like. Drill it with a spade bit or a Forstner bit, about halfway. Take like a 2 or 3 inch screw through, and that solidifies this side. Usually I try to put 2 in, but then it's up to you. You know, this one here, after this over, I'm going to raffle this off. I'll auction it off. You could, if you get it, I don't care if it's $2, you know, what cash, check, or IOU. Chris will accept anything. So, okay, I got this anchored. Got it anchored here. Put it down here. And then once this side is solid, then I'll work on this side, the same thing. The reason I do one side at a time is I've learned that if you do both sides, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get the accuracy. Accuracy for a piece like this, like if what Chris makes is 5-hammer stuff. For, you know, little doodads we make at Christmas, or guys starting out making a box, that's 1 hammer. It's about 3-hammer job. So you want to have it accurate as you can, solid, and that's why I do one at a time and then the other. Next thing, when I put this on, I try to measure here, 21 1/8, 21 1/8. Top looks good. Bottom, oh, this one's better than I thought. Jeez. Oh, it's a little bit off here, 21 1/4. These things, it's hard for me to keep it straight. I clamp this side while I'm doing that side now, but sometimes, because on the bottom I don't use, how would I say, hardwood, quality wood. As you can see, this thing, I can see up in front, all these pieces, that's the end pieces of what I cut off on the base. So I put them all together, put one on top, one on top, on the bottom, and that's the kind of wood I'm using. I swear, all the ones I made, if I paid $50 for total on the bottom, I'd probably be lying, probably less. A lot of this stuff, I was talking to people, it's like, I go to construction site, get some stuff, I got some leftovers, I use that. My idea on the bottom is you want it solid and a good base. Whatever I use, that's it. So that's the bottom. That's one thing. Oh, another thing I forgot. This is what I use on my router table to cut the tenons. Put on here, rotate, rotate, rotate. Now this piece comes with a rubber extension, but because it's 2.5, this was built for probably 3/4 material. So what I'll do is I'll put a piece in here so I can clamp down on it. This part here, tighten up, and I could get all 4 of them done pretty fast. Another thing is because I put this groove in it, when I put up front the fence, I could fix the fence so it's just barely in the middle of this with the router bit. So when I go across it, it doesn't touch my shoulder. And I've done so carefully getting the shoulder cut, I don't want to disturb it. So that's why I use this. And this piece is cobbled together, or this tool. Now they sell this as 2 pieces. Actually, this one here is what they sell, and you could use it for smaller pieces to cut. But I don't like using my push bar on the router table because I've always, had something jerked or something. So as a safety issue, and also more accurate issue, where these 2 posts are, they got these screws, and they were, whoa, what the hell is this for? So what I did, I bought this piece, drill the hole, both of them, countersuck them, use the screws that came with it, put a couple nuts for, to anchor it, and all of a sudden, that goes into my groove. I put my piece in there, lock it in, back and forth. So that's how I do that. So now you know how I do the bottom. Now, get to the top. The top is something like, I consider myself an artist, sometimes. So this piece here is the top. And what I'll do is I'll work on some of the bottom, some of the top. Now this has dimension too. Usually I like to keep it about 12. It could be a little longer, so I got a little overhang, or you can make this wider, make it a little overhang. I like 12 and 12, try to keep it the same. And what I do is I'll get a piece that can join them both together. So to begin with, I will take this piece and I'll go on top. Now, it used to be the bottom of this is all scrap wood, of which I, 3 pieces here and an end piece. So I just put it together. I'm not going to see it. And on the top, I'll make my design. Usually what I do is I get a scrap piece, and these are different woods I bought down here and down the street. You could probably pick them out better than I can, and then cut them and make a design. Okay, I've done other ones. Here's a book. You can look at the tops. So this, I would say, duplicated. Solid, ready to go. This, you could use your imagination. Couple one, I just put a 2x12, plain the edges, and my wife wrote welcome on it. You could do that. Some of the other things I've done, here's a sample. I've got this black. Let's see. This black used to be maybe 4 foot long, maybe 3 foot. And what I've done is scrap pieces. Usually, sometimes you use a long board, and you say, okay, it's 11 and a half. I only need 10. So you slice it, and you got that little piece left over. You don't know what to do. What I do is I just glue them all together. I said because I've got a joiner and planer, I can make it fairly square. So this thing is this long. Put on my saw. I used to try to get 1/8 of an inch. That didn't work. Now I go about 3/8 inch. Cut the pieces. Then what happens, and some of you could see, I'll just use end grain. And that's another thing I could do. Basically, you can do anything you want. I'm saying the bottom, solid. Okay, the top, hey, you could be an artist. Be a Da Vinci. But what I do is, like I said, I get about 11 inches here, 10 and a half, and then I always frame it with hardwood. This is oak. I've done some with other materials. So on the end here, I'll leave this up here. I left the last piece off. Now this one, I cut a groove in so I could put biscuits in. That's at the end. Usually I don't put biscuits in now, but for this one, for hell of it, I put biscuits in. Now this one, all you got to do is glue it, and then on the top, you probably re-sand it a little bit. On the edges, even this off, probably around the edge, a 1/4 inch cove bit, then finish it. I usually put 3 or 4 coats of poly on it, 2 coats on this, and that's it. But let's get back to putting it on. This piece before would fit right in here. I make basically two pieces the same. All right? But lately what I've been doing is leaving this about 1 inch. Well, why do I do that? Because I would put this piece on and then I try to, okay, I'm going to measure it. You know, I take a, I say, okay, this is 2.5. I come back here. All right, a little bit more this way. I said, that's ridiculous. So this time I sort of eye it up, exactly where I want to go. Then what I do, 3 screws here. And that would go into this, and would anchor this. Then, when I put this top piece on, to assemble it, now I've got some play. Before, it used to be one piece, basically, and I'd be measuring afterwards. This way, I've got the bottom piece in there, joining piece. Put this on top, then I can look here and say, oh man, a little bit here, a little bit there. Looks good. Then I can use my measuring tool and zero a little bit in. Screw from the bottom. I usually put 8 screws. And what I do is like, I got my measuring tool, some piece of wood. Oh man, there's a little line here, then I'll take something else. Oh, there's 2 screws here, 2 screws here, so even the bottom looks even. So that's how I put it together. That's what I do. That's it. Any questions?
Good job.
Oh, thank you.